Such affectionate acceptance.
Put a chick in it, make her gay.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
They were big. They were hitting hard too, man.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
Broaden the areas of participation for women.
That sounds very stylish.
What is my problem?
What do you think?
Beat sitting home watching television?
Hello, everyone. It's been a hot minute, but I am back. Great to see you guys here. Getting ready for another great interview here. I'm so glad everyone could show up. We got, let's see who was first. We got Enrique Cabrera. This gonna be good. Yes, it is gonna be good. Looking forward to it. We have Daniel Yoho. We have awesome one, Danny Boy. Let's see, Eric Wart. Great to see you. Hey, Abra. Hey, Dan. Hail chat. Hi, Comicsgate. Yes. Let's see, Grey Wolf. Hiya, chat. And Paulus Arts. Hey, great to see you. And Goody Two Shoes. Hello, hello. And let's go ahead and without further ado, we will go ahead and bring in our guest. Oh, I didn't pre-look to see what intro I wanted to use for our esteemed guest here today. Do I have anything worthwhile? I don't know. I'll go with something just outlandish.
Stop steaming up my tail! What are you trying to do? Wrinkle it?
Yeah, there'll be no steaming up of tails around here.
That is, I love. Oh man, I grew up with Bugs Bunny cartoons. I just love them.
They just don't get old. They're timeless. I grew up with them too, and they're great.
And Bugs was doing transgender.
Yeah, but it was like a thing. He didn't have to go and infiltrate a school.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, the world's crazy. The world's crazy. But you know what isn't crazy is I am so glad that you're here joining me today. Thank you. Thank you so much for agreeing to be on the show. It's nice to have talented people here. You've been an artist, I believe, in the industry for over 25 years?
37.
37. Good Lord. Well, you don't look it. So that's great. Let's see. Oh, that's
I got my first job. Well, my career went from 87 to 97. So I got my first job when I was 21 or something like that, in 87. So what is that? I don't know. But and then I did 10 years in comics and then I went into advertising and stuff like that. We could talk about that, but
yeah, definitely. I was looking at some of your resume there, and it's very fascinating. But I wanted to talk because we were briefly kind of chatting in the back room about something interesting happened this weekend with C2E2. Kind of been all the buzz on the internet, and I was initially going to go to C2E2, and then they started pulling all their shenanigans. If you're a conservative, apparently, they don't want you around. But we have someone among our group that is willing to just say, hey, I'm going to go and make a statement, but I'm going to do it the right way. I'm not going to create a big scene. I'm going to go and, just make a point, make a statement. And that is the great John Malin. We were kind of talking and you had some thoughts about that. Did you want to share them with us?
Oh my God. Well, it's extraordinary to see a live cancellation. Like there's been lots of cancellations. I know I've lost jobs and stuff throughout the years being conservative and not even like heavily right wing, just kind of moderate, conservative politics that I kind of grew up with. That I had the same politics my dad fought, for in World War II. My dad was in World War II.
Oh, wow.
And so it's kind of like he just kind of instilled that stuff in me, and nothing unusual, just traditional American politics, I thought. And all of a sudden they're saying, which is actually quite an insult to my family, because my dad fought, not in the Nazi part of it. He was in the Japanese side, but he fought in the world, he fought in the effort to remove the Nazis. And so for his politics to be demonized in such a way, for he was a truly good man, is disgusting to me. I think it's disgusting. So I just, I'm really, committed. I'm committed to this because I said I put a post up. I said, if attack on anyone's free speech is attack on everyone's free speech. We
Right.
have to, whether you're right or left, we have to agree that freedom of speech is paramount and must be protected as sacred, because if you lose that, it's over.
Yeah.
You're gonna, no one can say anything about anything. It's just, you want to have as much free speech as possible. Stop, everyone's judging everyone. Everyone needs to stop judging and just, and that's what's going on here. Really intense judgment.
I know. Oh my God. What happened to the days where you could disagree intensely with somebody, but then at the end of the day, you're like, okay, yeah, whatever. You have your view, I have mine, and you just kind of shake on it. It's like, okay, well, let's go watch the game or something.
Yeah.
But now it's not about just having a disagreement. They have to destroy you.
Yeah.
Destroy the ideology, destroy the person. It's just nuts.
But they'll destroy themselves too. All these causes they care about will go out the window too. Once you get totalitarianism, that's where it's headed. You have to be careful of that.
Yeah, because then we're going to get to the point, and we're ever so close, creeping towared the edge there, where you can't even speak out against, opposing, political rivals and everything.
It used to be when I was younger, when the phrase was, I may not agree with you, what you say, but I'll defend your right to say to the death. And I think that's what we need to revive. I mean, you got to really be able to just say what you want to say. And even if it's wrong, even if it's a little bit offensive, we need to be tolerant of, stuff that's a little bit offensive. We all say something now and again that is offensive to someone else.
Yeah.
And we don't mean it. We're not trying to be mean, just making a joke or something, and it goes too far. And that kind of thing. It's like, so you have to be tolerant of each other. That's really what we need to be more like. So I think
very much a live and let live kind of, that's the viewpoint I have. Obviously, to an extent, if my, if someone's freedom is going to hurt somebody else, in a negative way, then, there has to be some sort of
within reason. You have to. These are judgment calls, and
right.
Like, even like the latest thing with with Cecil and John there, and Cecil felt like the joke towards that neurotic's wife went too far, and I think there's a line out there, but the debate is, where is the line? But I'm pretty sure there is a line that you cross it, and then now you're just not being funny anymore. So where's that line? Well, obviously for Cecil, it was he had dinner with that woman. And it made him very uncomfortable. Understandable, very understandable. I get that, and that's fine. And so I think there needs to be room for that in the community of people, and network of people, is to say, okay, that's where the line is for you. It's not that way for me, but I understand that. I accept your where you're drawing it. So
right. I was there for that stream, and I was it went from like, 0 to like 10,000. Yeah. And I'm sitting there like in the little box in the corner.
Yeah,
just
I remember.
Like, all right, dum. Let me get my comic book here, because it's really rough. I don't handle confrontation arguments like that very well. I guess because I'm a very sensitive person. I'm a girl, like, big surprise that I'm sensitive. But it was hard.
I do think there's a difference when it comes to comedy. I do think there's a difference between how you treat women, and particularly because obviously men judge women by their looks. So
women judge men by their looks.
Well,
too,
but I'm saying more so, and so you have to be sensitive. I think a responsible thing is to be more sensitive to women. I think they are to be treated differently, in my opinion, just because of that aspect. They're recognizing the differences and adjusting for that, because it's the guys get talking, and the shits are flying. And
I've worked in fields that are mostly dominated by men, and it didn't bother me, because even when I was little, my parents owned their own small business, and I'd go in there, and my dad, it was kind of a manufacturing kind of thing, and he'd be banging on a hammer, or somebody would be working, and you'd hear son of a and all this kind of stuff. So I've been around kind of like the sailor talk, so to speak. And I'm a little more used to how guys talk. It doesn't bother me, because I try to judge people on how they treat me and everything. But it's like you said, just different levels, different tolerance levels and everything. Why didn't I call John a woman's body part? um, oh, it was so awkward because I like both of them so
Yeah,
much, and I can see both of their perspectives,
right. Yeah, I felt
and
like John was presenting the principal point of view, which is
exactly.
admirable and great, and he should continue. And as we said this weekend, he showed it and displayed that. But Cecil was presenting a businessman's point of view, saying, "Hey,
Right.
look, that according to these guys, it's actually bad for business to for
Yeah,
them
and
to mention a
all of
name."
that was
So, and
exacerbated
that's okay.
by
So those are two different perspectives, and
yeah.
that sort of thing. And unfortunately, the communication didn't work that night.
No. No, well, alcohol was in the mix,
Yeah,
and
I think that was a
that
little bit
makes
of
everything
frustration.
better, right?
But also, John is a fierce defender of
He's
this,
passionate, and I
and
really
he's not messing around.
no, I admire that.
So and Cecil is too. But I'm just saying
Mhm.
just it's like strongmen. You know how they say strongmen disagree on barbecue sometimes. It's kind of the same sort of thing. Two guys here with strong opinions
You
about
use
what.
charcoal instead
Yeah.
of propane, damn you. Yeah. It was nuts. It was very nuts.
Yeah.
And
But they're
I
beyond
hope
that, and they're friends, and that's important. And I think
yeah.
that's what I'm talking about. Just kind of the not judging others too much and stuff, and because you want to, you're all on the same side of things.
Right.
We want freedom. We want to, freedom of speech is paramount. That is important. John's fighting for it. Cecil, I believe, is too. And so let's agree to do that.
Yeah, agree to disagree and move on, and just as long as there's not that guilt by association thing,
Yes.
um,
Yes.
and you kind of feel the pressures because certain lines have been. Jabba's in the chat. My heckler here, love you, Jabba.
You
But
can
yeah,
judge me. I don't care. I don't.
he's
Yeah.
great. If you're gonna have a
I'm a moron
heckler,
already. I already know I'm a.
if you're gonna have a heckler, you want to have Jabba. He's the best.
Yeah.
But yeah, what I was gonna say is, with all this stuff with Eric July and the Friday Night Tights crew, and then our side and the overlap of audiences, it's very frustrating because you might want to like certain individuals, and then you have the other people who are
Yeah.
like, oh, you're hanging out with them, ew, and it's just like, what is
Yeah.
this? Why are we
Well,
back to that?
I think I could explain it a little bit. Is I think what's going on here is, first off, understanding Ethan's history, which is working for a publisher and then
Yeah.
being really treated horribly. I mean, after 20 some years of service, being put on the street with a wife and toddler saying, get another career. I mean,
Yeah.
imagine that you're an electrician or something, or you're doing, this is your career, and someone says, you can't work anywhere, because there's only a couple places you can work in comics. So if you can't work at Marvel or DC or Image, you're done. And so his career was over. And then came crowdfunding and self-publishing. And that's why
Yeah.
Ethan is such a fierce defender of self-publishing. So when Eric entered the situation, at first everyone was like, hey, Eric's going to do a crowdfunding
yeah.
comic. And he was like, no, it's not crowdfunding. It's not crowdfunding. And we're like, what are you talking about? And then we found out what Eric really is doing is being a traditional publisher,
Mhm.
entering the situation. So the clash is really between self-publishing and traditional publishing, work for hire versus creator-owned self-publishing.
Well, there
And
doesn't have
that's
to be
what's
the clash there. I mean,
it
there's room
doesn't.
enough
It
and
doesn't.
for both to exist. And
Right. Look
that's
at Peter Samiti. Peter Samiti
yeah.
has alternative comics. Wonderful guy. I love him. Like, and he, he's been on, I've been on his show. He's been on Comicsgate shows. He's not fighting them. He'll promote each, he knows that promoting each other's works is great. And I
Yeah.
wish some of the Friday Night Tights guys would promote because what Ethan said back when he was, the famous zero comment,
Oh my
I
God.
think
Yeah.
Ethan was reaching a point where he was getting so frustrated because he's carrying a lot of guys. He's,
Yeah.
he's very charismatic, but he can only do so much. And he's trying to push people, and push these books and helping these professionals he knows who have been canceled. And I
Mhm.
think he was getting frustrated with these guys who had big channels fighting the culture war, supposedly. And then, so he said there was zero help. I think it was if I could speak for him, that's what I would say. He was trying
Mhm.
to say that they weren't helping, and he's carrying so much pressure. He's got so much pressure on him. And
Yeah.
so
And
I
he's
just feel
been
like, yeah, go ahead.
backstabbed and everything several times too.
Yeah.
And we were talking about
That's
how
true.
I've been following Comicsgate since
Right.
2018. So I've seen, the everything, the
Yeah.
comings, the goings, the little fine minutia. It's It's just
Yeah.
astounding. I don't know how he gets out of bed sometimes.
Yeah.
It's just like,
See, I would encourage the Friday Night Nights guys to embrace crowdfunding. It's such because it's
yeah,
such a wonderful thing. It's the only reason I'm back in the comics is because we could go back to my history.
yeah.
It's sort of, when I was in 80s, I was in from 87 to 97. 97, like I had a young family, and I was in comics. I was making $400 a week. That's 20 grand a year.
Holy cow.
That's not enough.
You're almost like a teacher then at that level.
So I
Except without the
so
union
I had
benefits.
I had to leave comics, and, that's the thing I loved, and I had to leave it, and I went into advertising, and I didn't get rich, but I made a middle-class living, and that's still where I remain today. But now, for the first time, I'm thinking of comics again, and the reason is you can actually make enough to make a decent living, a middle-class living, possibly, if you can. It's all merit-based. If your comic's good and that sort of thing, if you can get good, good promotion, if you know how to promote it, and I'm working on that part, but
Well, you have the radio voice.
but the
so
two
that's
things,
good.
I needed back then was, first off, it was the money, obviously,
Mhm.
but then the time. You can't do great work in a month. You can't do great comics. It takes longer. So now crowdfunding gives you the two things the comic artist needs: time and money. And so that's why I'm just like, and you own the property too. That's incredible. So I'm
Yeah.
just, anyway, I wouldn't even have dreamed of this back then. I'm such an advocate for it. So when the fighting between the traditional publisher come in the crowdfunder, I'm going to fall on Ethan's side, because that's why I'm here. That's why I believe in it. I'm expecting to see great comics. You're going to see the best comics you've ever seen from Aaron Lepresti, the best
Oh,
from
yeah.
Andy Smith, from Choreograph. Whatever these guys are capable of, they have the time and the money now to do it. And so you'll get great comics, the best that you would ever get from them. So no, I think more guys are going to enter the field when they see this, when they see how great it is, how wonderful it is. But it's
I
tough
hope
to be on your
so.
own.
Yeah.
You're practicing without a net. So
I was watching the rerun of Comicsgate Kings the other day, and with Rob Hunter, with his book and everything, and he had a very ambitious campaign initially, and I think he's still hovering around 23,000 something. And I was just thinking, gosh, that's going to be so rough, because just looking at all of the details and time and everything that he's putting in this book and doing it himself, I don't know how anyone could make a living like
yeah.
that. Thank God for crowdfunding.
Yeah. But I mean, you can, if you do sketches, commissions, stuff like that, you can make some money that way and stuff. I don't know
Right.
what's Rob's situation or anything like that, but he does have a really good comic book. The thing looks interesting. It's very different, very unusual.
The style is very unique.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's unique. And so we'll see what happens. I mean, it may be something where Rob's first book, won't do. People have to get it, read it, and then find out what he can do.
Right.
That kind of thing. So
And that's fair. I think, just over the years, people kind of, maybe they were burned, so they want to wait and kind of see what the artist can produce, and can they deliver in a timely manner and whatnot. But yeah, from what I've seen, it looks very promising what
Yes.
he's putting out there. How about you? Are you going to put out your own comic here?
Yeah, I'd like to. I'm working on something. I'm taking my time with it.
Mhm.
But honestly, I'm just letting it happen sort of naturally.
Mhm.
I still do my own, my own
You
regular
have
work and stuff.
ideas that are kind
Well,
of
no, it's written, it's sketched out. It's just a lot of work to actually finish it. That's where the hours of labor is. Writing it and sketching it, and is easy. Well, not easy, but less far. You can do that pretty quickly. The
Yeah.
drawing of it, the lettering, actually it's all letter too, but the coloring of it, that's what takes time. So, but I'll do it whatever. Honestly, right now I'm actually just enjoying this whole YouTube thing, meeting other artists. I didn't even know. Like, I mean, I'm hanging out with guys my age who have families, and and I was like, oh, these guys are doing it. That's so cool, and maybe I could do it too.
Yeah,
But right now
definitely.
I'm just satisfied with just doing covers, pinups, all that kind of stuff, and hanging out and having fun with these guys, and trying to push their books, encourage them to
Right.
try to help them out, because if they
You
have a
were
solid
you were talking
network.
about core draft and
Yes, of
everything.
course. Yeah,
Yeah.
Andy Smith and Dennis's book as well. it's it's fun, Conan stuff. It's just your kind of traditional comics, which that's what I want to see. All the activist stuff is just it's just ruining the comic books to me.
Yeah. Well, not just comics, but everything in general, video games, movies, television shows.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
Well, here's the thing is I think I can describe too just why it's not working. And the question I always ask is, why don't you see grandma superheroes? Is it because men don't love the grandmothers, or they don't care about the grandmothers, or anything? No, it's because men don't want to be a grandma.
Yeah.
These are fantasies. These are male fantasies. That it's about what men want to be, and what they want to be is the kind of guy that can attract a girl. It's like, you think about if you're
save the
Batman.
day.
If you're Batman and you were handsome and built and had a mansion and intelligent, you'd probably be able to get a girl. So
Yeah.
I think
It doesn't hurt.
So they're all the same kind of character. They're all men, knights in shining armor, and they're healthy fantasies, I think, for men to have an important in our society. Because when you get older, you kind of you instead of slaying the dragon, you slay the car payment or the mortgage payment, and you want that your wife to love you and that kind of thing. So it's the guys won't say this very often, but they're actually, I think, romantic stories for young men.
Mhm.
And they're healthy stories. So, but what they're trying to do, the reason it doesn't work is if they try to make a grandma superhero or a mom superhero or a baby superhero, it's like, guys, you ask them, they don't want to be those things. Or gay superhero, they don't. It's not that they don't love gay people; they just don't want to be fantasize about being gay unless they're gay.
Well, they've had heroes before too that were gay, and they even got married, but that wasn't their identity. That was just
But I'm saying guys don't. That this is in a male fantasy. There's no interest in that. It's not that they're anti any of these things. They're not anti-grandma. They're not anti-babies. They just don't want to be a baby or grandma or anything else. Like, they want to be a tough guy, superhero. And that's what the comic industry used to understand, that's what it was all about. It's a healthy, wonderful thing, and it's good for society. It's good for a young man, frankly, in my opinion. So, we just got to get back to that and understand it. It's not about exclusion or that. You should be based on sales. What do guys want to buy? And if they want to buy a badass, warrior guy, it's because they want to be a badass warrior guy. You want to be a Conan. So
I was noticing with your artwork too, you really like the Conan, the barbarian kind of thing.
I love Conan.
Yeah, let me see if I could get your page up here. I just was enjoying.
I still
looking
remember.
at the art.
I'm in my. I had to go to. You got to pick out a book in grade school there, and I'm in my Catholic school library, and I'm just going through looking at the paperback section. I see Frank Frazetta's Conan the Usurper cover, and I just said, "Oh man, is that cool?" And I took it and I went home. I still have it back here somewhere. Just things practically disintegrated, but I ate it up. I read it because Robbie D. Howard's stories are also really compelling and powerful. And I remember reading that thing, and I got to the insert page at the end. It had listed, like, there's all these other Conan books. And I said, oh my gosh, there's more. Like, so I became a big Frazetta and Conan fan from there, so.
Yeah, I love the energy in this and everything.
Yeah, that's Conan to me. That's savage. That's powerful. That's, that's just nuts.
That snarl on his face.
Yeah, I like a dirty barbarian, just blood and guts kind of guy. That's fun, it's adventure.
Yes. And everything you draw, it's like here with these sea creatures here, these almost like giant piranha things.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. He's just gonna lay waste to them. It's just so fun and interesting to look at.
Yeah.
But
I love the human figure too. I love the dynamics. It's a dance, it's a movement, it's a gesture. There's so much storytelling in your body language and how you move. And so I loved, like if you've watched that one, you said you were watching some of those videos I did. The one on gesture drawing is so important. And I think a lot of artists, I see them start a drawing without doing a gesture drawing first. And I'm like, you're missing the core, the power, the balance, the movement. It's so important to get in a really interesting drawing. So I wish I could just, grab them all. Sometimes I want to.
Yeah.
The whole reason I'm making those videos, those tutorials, is I'm trying to get my peers and even young people and people starting out, but also everyone to take a look and say, this is how I did it. This is how I want to read good comics. So if I have to make the creators myself, if I have to teach them myself how to give me good comics, I'll do it.
I love, I was watching this one here, How to Draw Cars. And we were talking again in the back room about how you do these draw videos. And as far as I'm aware, you're the only Comicsgate king / comic skater to actually give instructional videos. Many of the comic skaters will do your traditional draw streams, but this is great. If someone's really trying to figure out, maybe they're stuck on something, they have, how to draw cars. You were showing about perspective. Some other ones here that were really nice.
I try to tell people when I'm doing this stuff, what I'm thinking, what's going through my mind is because a lot of artists, when they're doing the draw streams, they're not really telling you, what's the decision process happening in here and when you're working on these things. And so I try to reveal that, and it's not easy because sometimes I know it automatically and I forget I got to explain it, but I'm trying to do that as much as I can, trying to explain what's happening, how did I get there too? There's a lot of things that I did that I kind of learned from myself, like how to understand perspective in art. I remember I showed it on the video, but I actually cut out a square out of a big sheet or a rectangle, and I walked around and I looked at it. Allowed me to see the perspective lines as if I'm looking at a picture on a page, and see how so I began to get a sense of depth and movement into and understanding, getting a real actual understanding of perspective, not just knowing the rules of it, because there's a lot of videos that show you, okay, this is 1 and 2 point perspective, but how does that pertain to your illustration? How far apart those points are will make a big difference as to what if it looks distorted or not. You have to get a sense of that, and I explain that as best I can in that pretty short video. Actually, that's a pretty short one, relatively speaking.
Yeah, these are, a lot of these are just bite size. So, it makes it great. You can go back if you need to. You're like, oh, how do I do this? Like, how do I draw hands again? If you're stuck on something.
The funny thing, Abra, is that I actually, in doing those videos, I had to do a sort of a deep dive study, like how to draw hands. It took me 2 weeks to put that thing together.
Wow.
And I really, because I know some of this stuff by heart or instinct, and I have to learn to teach it and how to explain it and break it down for people. So I know what I'm doing, but I have to really, so I actually got better drawing hands and people tell you this, when you actually teach something, you actually get better at it.
Yeah.
You have to actually really study it.
Teaching is difficult. It's easy to, know how to do something yourself, but then to effectively explain that to somebody else, it takes a really good understanding of the subject matter. This one was really interesting. The putting your figures in perspective quickly, and how you were drawing the line through, the characters, even though they were different sizes. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick here. Make sure that's muted. Got to get like an ad blocker.
Yeah. That's just a simple trick of observation that I realized when I was, doing my drawings. Like, oh, how do you, because otherwise you got to put the points on there and all the perspective and all that stuff. And it's like, if you know where the horizon, if you find out where the horizon line is, you can find out where your other figures are. And it's just a good check for to make sure they're correct. And
like a shortcut kind of thing.
It's perspective. It's a laws of perspective, but it's just an observation that a lot of people miss. And if you miss it, then just bringing it to I'm just bringing it to your attention. And so once you recognize, you go, oh, I get it now, So
how long have you been drawing digitally?
I don't know exactly when I got my first computer, but it's been a long time, pretty much. I've been at it for a while. But the funny thing is, I still much prefer pencil and paper, because when I did, did you get the Two-Fisted Manly Tales book?
I did.
Okay,
yes.
So I did a story in there, and that's all digital, and that was a pain in the butt. I don't. That's when I decided I'm not doing digital anymore because I was zooming in and coloring something. Like you zoom in and you make this painting, paint this face, and I pulled back and I realized it's only like a half inch high. And I spent half an hour on it. So it's like you got to be careful when you're working in digitally because you'll zoom in. You work on something too much. When I draw it in pencil, it's like it's a smudge. It's a quick stroke, and then boom, I'm done. It's actually faster. Now I still color digitally because it looks so nice.
And then you do your tutorials.
Yeah, the tutorials are all digital because it's just easier for me to show people, and there's also Photoshop tricks I want to show along the way.
Yeah.
But I could and I would just set up my table and draw with pencil and stuff. But this is really, I'm trying to, digital. It's like when I can sketch quickly, on my tablet, and it works pretty okay. So
There was this other. Let me see the other video here. Go back. That was just really interesting how you mashed up two characters, Superman. And
well, that's a thing. I'm trying to get some, build my channel and stuff. And
yeah.
So it was that people have done that. What happens if you mix this? And I'm just trying to it's clickbait, I have to say,
I enjoyed it though. I thought it was
but
a lot of fun.
it's fun. That was fun to do. But another thing I noticed though is that these didn't get a lot of views, even though I think they're kind of interesting to watch. And it's because I think people actually want to talk to people, the human connection that now in this world of we're so separated.
Oh my
human
gosh,
connection
yes.
is pretty cool. And it's nice. And so when people, like even when I'm drawing this, like I'm not telling people what I'm thinking. They can't see in my mind and can't see how I'm approaching this. And
that was kind of what I wished was a part of this video. I wanted to kind of get your perspective
exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, it was still a very fun video to watch.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Do you have any other mashups like that?
No mashups, but of course, there's a bunch of them that are. I think the as far as if you want to look at an interesting speed painting, probably that. What's the one I'm forgetting him now? Not the Death Dealer. That I like that. Both either Death Dealer, but what's the one? What's his name? Cord something. What? It's right next to the one with the sculpture down there.
All right, let me see here. I will.
That one.
This one here.
Yeah, what's his name again? I forget. But
How to draw a Kilrog.
Kilrog, yes, Kilrog.
Yeah.
That's a good one. It's because it really shows. I mean, the thing is, you can, if you want to, slow down the video and watch me paint it. It's about 20 times speed, I think, or something like that. On the when I created it in the iMovie. But you can see how it's interesting, I think, to see how I approach something, and I with the Photoshop you can just get your darks and lights and all that sort of thing, and then you can add the color with overlays afterwards and sort of enhance it.
That is the fascinating thing about digital with color. You can experiment with different things, and if it doesn't work, it's not like you just messed up your drawing.
So much of it's on layers. It's great,
Yeah.
Like I don't know if you caught any. I'm just doing this Silence Do Good cover for Sean Salter, and what was I saying? But I'm showing like the layers and how I approach and how I can do different effects with the with the different. It would probably be in my live stuff there.
Let's see.
The latest one I haven't actually put. Yeah, that one's fine. But see, there I am doing got all my layers open, and I'm showing people. I'm trying to do this one entirely online, so people can see start to finish my coloring process.
Oh wow!
But last night I couldn't help myself, and I was just like, I got to fix that. And all of a sudden, I'm not recording this. I can't help it. But when I get in the zone, I'm just like, it's like almost like I'm a machine. And just like you're just thinking like the Terminator or something. Just I'm going at it, looking at it, making a million decisions.
So not only do you do the the art and everything, covers and comic covers and everything, commissions, but I was reading that you do storyboarding and everything for
Right.
TV commercials and everything. Can
Right.
you touch on that a little bit? Because I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like it's not necessarily very satisfying like comics, like, but it's just bread and butter work, So,
Right.
you because you can, you imagine like I was making $400 a week or in comics, but then you do 8 to 10 storyboards a day or something, and you can $100 or something like that. So it's not that those jobs come very often. They're kind of like they're hard jobs on your physically, because they're just like you just really got to crank them out, and you're spent. You can't do them back to back very easily, but it's just like you just got to go real fast and stuff. And it's kind of fun to be like, because when it leaves my drawing table, because the art director comes to me with an idea, and I just draw it up, and they present that to try to sell the story or the commercial. And it often goes through several rounds and that sort of thing. And then it's gone. And then I may be watching TV, and all of a sudden a commercial pops up that I worked on. I'm like, hey, I know that commercial.
Are you allowed to share any of those? Tell us, or
I really probably shouldn't.
I gotcha.
'Cause
Yeah.
that's kind of confidential stuff. But I remember one time I was working on with my wife, and we were vacationing in Canada at Niagara Falls. We went to Niagara Falls, and in the hotel there was this Canadian Tire commercial coming on, and this thing was just so annoying. And I'm like, but I worked on it.
Oh no.
I'm annoying myself. It's my own fault.
But it got your attention, so
Yeah,
at least
I'm just saying
know.
it's how these commercials can be so annoying sometimes. Like this one, it's like I'm just doing it to myself this time. Like it was a weird experience. Like I want to punch whoever made that commercial. That's me.
I was trying to think some of like my favorite commercials over the years. Certain ones, it seems like the ones with jingles kind of stick with me more.
Yeah. Actually, there's a lot of funny ones, and you'd be surprised how many get that they do, and they just go, no, we can't do that one.
Oh God.
And
Oh
it ends
yeah.
up on
Like
the
I
ends
just
up on the
shipped
cutting
my
room floor.
pants.
Yeah. So it's but it's actually one of the things that was interesting. What I liked, not only because it paid better, the storyboards, but what comics got so grim and negative to me too. I feel like I like a comic book that has a little more positivity to it. And when I was drawing it wasn't me, and when I was drawing these just people walking into Target or something, smiley, happy families, I kind of liked it. It didn't get me down. I was just like, this is kind of fun. So it was kind of weird. The artwork's trash. You just, it's throwaway stuff. But the work, I didn't hate it, because it was just sort of positive. And I liked, and again, this is before, working in comics, before the internet, before YouTube, before interacting with people. I didn't know any comic guys. It was really lonely. It sucked. And when I was working at storyboards, I'd go into the agencies, and I'd kind of just walk around, and I'd talk to people, and just being in a room in a meeting or something. It was a lot of fun. And I actually I think I am kind of a people person to a certain extent. Even though I like to be isolated when I'm working, I need people. That's what I kind of found. And even like the storyboards now, I don't like them as much because I don't really interact as much with people. I don't go into the agencies anymore. So,
Is that because of post-COVID kind of thing?
no,
or
just because of the internet, just because it's you
Yeah.
can connect, everything's done so much by the internet, and I kind of miss that. So, with, like I said, getting back to the comic stuff, I love the working on the comics. I love the talk. I was just talking to Dennis Turner. It was creating co-draft a couple hours ago online.
He's a cool guy.
Yeah, it's like hanging out with a buddy. It's like, hey, how you doing? And then I feel inspired too, because these guys are looking at my work, and they can respond to it in real time, like right away. That's also exciting too. So I'm like, you want to really I want to do the best I can do to kind of for them to go, hey, that's cool, Dan. So it's a lot.
Do you
of fun.
have anyone that you would really like to collaborate with, or a company that you'd really like to collaborate with?
Well, no, except if Frank Miller ever contacted me. Exactly. It'd be something like that, where it'd be like, oh man, that like a legend, or like a Walt Simonson or something, one of the people that I really admired. But to tell you the truth, though, the collaborations that I'm having now are plenty satisfying. Just and see so I am kind of fulfilling that in a way. Just drawing. I drew Mike Barron's story in Two-Fisted Manly Tales. to me, to be a fan of his work when I was younger, he was doing Badger and stuff like that, and I love Badger.
Mhm.
And did you ever read Badger, by the way?
I did not. No.
You should look that up because the character is just hilarious. It's totally. I think Mike is a little crazy, but all of his characters are totally crazy. And it's a lot of
Reading
fun.
Florida Man. Yeah, that was fun though.
So his stuff is always off the wall. It's always just like, oh my gosh, it's nuts. And it was back then too, but it's a whole lot of fun. So to draw his story, one of his stories, that was a bucket list for me. That was really cool.
Any of the other comic skate kings or comic skaters that you would like to work with on a project?
Not necessarily. I am going to work with. I think it'd be kind of fun to do some Cyberfrog. The one thing that though I've tried. Cyberfrog is really tough to draw.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I had my first few tries at Cyberfrog were like sucked. And I couldn't get the character down. And I finally did one, but Ethan was showing it online, and he's like, "It's all right." I'm like, it's all right. It's not enough. So it's a challenge. I like a challenge. I'm determined to do a Cyberfrog that he goes, "Man, that's cool." So I haven't done it yet. I will do it. I must do it.
Barbarian Cyberfrog. There you go.
Oh, there you go. Barbarian Cyberfrog. But I'm saying those are the kind of things where I actually really enjoy drawing my friend. I actually kind of see these guys as my friends' characters. I love to promote it. I love just like when the last Core Draft book, when Andy, I was coloring the Bud Roots 4-page story in there, and I was having a blast just promoting the heck out of that, and because we were pushing that, and I think all that promotion, I hope anyways, that I contributed to getting over 6 figures on that one.
Yeah.
So, but it's a lot of promotion, which I love to do. The funny thing is I didn't mention this though. My mom is an artist and my dad was a salesman. So I feel like I'm a combination of the two.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So he was great at sales and he loved people. He was a people person. And mom was a very good artist. Although I'm one of 8 kids, so she didn't have much time to do art. So
busy lady.
Yes, very busy lady. So, but anyways, that's kind of funny to think that how all those parts came together,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I loved art when I was younger. Those were some of my favorite electives and everything. But it was kind of one of those things when I went off to college and kind of got into a different direction. If you don't use it, you definitely lose it.
Yeah. It's one of the things I honestly,
hey, Katie.
I would not. Oh, there's Katie. Hey, I wouldn't recommend it to go into art, frankly, especially with AI.
It'll break your heart, kid.
AI scares the crap out of us. It's like, oh my gosh, it's good enough that it doesn't. It has and does. It will replace certain aspects of art. They're gone. Those jobs are gone already. Certain jobs.
Well, geez, and in film and programming and everything, it's kind of scary. You can kind of see why they push the whole crazy idea of basic universal income several years ago to kind of plant the seed, because it's like it's going to put everyone out of a job. Like, what can't these supercomputers do? It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But
maybe they'll even replace us, like we're talking right now.
My gosh, yeah.
Do you want to see the latest interview of Abra of Dan Lawlis?
Oh my God, no! Have you seen the picture? They could take a picture and just a sample of your voice, a still picture and a sample of your voice.
Well, did you see the latest one? What was the woman who just created a Star Trek I was watching it last night.
That was hilarious. Yes.
I would like to get her name. I forgot it.
Can somebody put that in the chat? Belle Winters.
Belle Winters. Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
And that was like, oh my gosh, it's almost there. It's almost like, that was Mandy. The funny thing about Anna is she kind of looks like these, because she did one of Star Wars too.
Yeah.
And Anna kind of looks like
Princess Leia or Counselor Troy from Star Wars.
Kind of similar look. So it wasn't much of a stretch, So that was cool.
That cracked me up. It's 4 lights, bitches. Oh yeah, it's great. Yeah, AI done in seconds. Very
but maybe this will be just a thing that is a new tool now, and you'll still be doing creative things, but you just won't do it because like I don't do my own. I mean, I don't letter. I can't letter. I don't do lettering, but I letter my own comics because I can just type it in. So it may be something like that where they're still creative people, but they have to be, you prompt the AI right or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't tried to mess with with AI at all, using it trying to, make thumbnails or something
Right.
like that. Have you messed around with it? Is it
A little
very difficult
bit.
to
I
input the
tried a little
prompts?
bit, but I didn't bother too much to it. I'm too busy just trying to make it traditional art. I still, like I said, I still think that it's not going to replace things right away because, like
Right.
when I'm doing an illustration, I mean, just like moving a hand, like this far, just that far, just so the composition is correct. Just so I get all those. There's just 100 decisions, thousands of decisions you're making on every piece. Just the tone of someone's face. Do I pull that red back? Do I push it in? That's too complicated for they'll be able to do nice illustrations, but not necessarily sequential
Hmm.
or truly put together, perfect illustrations. So my only fear is it's going to be good enough to replace this. Not that it's ever going to be better.
Is this crazy how now they've developed the software where it just learns from,
Yeah, yeah.
they can
Well,
learn from each other.
Shane's wife Yanzi was saying that there's a kind of a hope that maybe in a way this will eat itself alive because
Oh,
right now it's taking from all these perfect pictures, but as the strange sort of the things with six figures and stuff
yeah,
enters into
freakish.
once it enters into the world, so to speak, it'll start taking the six-figure pictures and and making fingers, and then
Yeah.
and it could just destroy itself in that way, possibly.
You're like,
Um,
it's like, what's that guy? Shadiversity. Have you
yeah,
been
yeah.
following that whole thing?
Oh
And
yeah.
he's just so convinced that he is creating art. I tried to listen to his argument. I'm just like, this is weird. Like this is
Right.
just really weird,
Right.
because it's
There are a few
pulling.
points he's making that there is artistic decisions that he is being made that he's using it as a tool.
Yeah.
It kind of makes some sense that to a certain degree. But to call yourself an artist when you're stealing other people's data,
Yeah.
that's
And his
to me.
actual brother, his brother's an artist. It's like,
Yeah.
what?
One thing I think might be interesting is will there be a lawsuit at some point where you own your data, and if someone
Mm.
steals the data, is that the same thing as stealing your work? In other words, even though they're taking it, putting it together, the computers putting it together, that data is uncorrupted as it goes into their art. That is it's not like you're looking at something getting inspired. It's a different thing, and
Mhm.
so maybe if there's a lawsuit that says no, you own your data, and then one of these AI companies gets sued for that, they'll be gone. So there's some hope out there. And there's another thing too, is that a buddy of mine he's kind of in the computer stuff, and he sent me something that you can put on your artwork that contaminates the data. So
Oh, okay.
that may
So
be an
somebody
option,
can't
right?
pull from
That
yours.
may be another option that that artists will start to use that contaminate the data of their work, so the AI cannot. But now they could maybe print it out and then scan it in and do it that way, but that's a lot
Mhm.
of work. And
You know what it reminds me of, Dan? It's kind of like the cat and mouse game of radar detectors, cops and radar
yeah,
detectors. So yeah, you have the radar detectors that can kind of beat the cops, but then a little bit later the cops get the technology, and it's always, just a game back and forth. Or kind of like the hackers. You have the
yeah,
programmers that, write the code to make sure that the hackers can't break it, but then everything is inevitably capable of being hacked, and it's just a constant, you have to up your game and everything. So
yeah.
the future is
It's funky.
it is very funky. Someone here was saying that, asked a question. I'm not familiar with it, but maybe you are, Dan. Anyone see that DC comics guy get called out for training AI on his own work?
Yeah, someone who mentioned that. I think Dennis was telling me today about that. Somebody they had like they got rid of it and that sort of thing. But yeah, but the weird thing is it is necessarily wrong? What it's if they like I said, I use Photoshop to do my lettering. Like, is that I'm not hand lettering anymore? Is that wrong? Like these are ethical questions and debatable questions now. I
Mhm.
don't know. I hate it. Obviously, I hate the idea that I had spent years learning how drawing figures, learning how to, and someone can do it a nice piece of work in 2 seconds that would take me 3 hours, or 8 hours.
It makes me wonder if, is there a comparison to years ago, like in college, where they had to type on, or they'd write
Yeah,
something
so
out, and then they had, oh, sure.
sorry about that. I stepped on my cord and
No
I didn't hear
worries.
what you said. So
Yeah, I was wondering if there's any similarity to back in the day when college students, they'd have to actually write the reports and then take it to somebody to type up for them, and
yeah, they
all that.
may go back to like just like paper ballots. They may have to go back to paper
Oh my
tests.
gosh, yeah, it's just
Because that's the thing
unbelievable.
is,
But
if AI can write a paper for you, and the professor can't tell the difference.
well,
Everybody
they do
gets
have
it's like,
software that they run your paper through that can detect whether
right.
AI was used, or if somebody plagiarized the work from elsewhere. Uh, Linux Tech Tips. Oh, Linus Tech Tips. Yeah, didn't that guy like go ham, go crazy or something? I used to watch
Yeah.
his tech
What
videos.
did Awesome One say there? He said that the
The
new PCs have AI
AI
integrated.
integrated in all aspects of the PC.
Yeah. Yeah, I tell you, this stuff is scary. Just how much knowledge they have.
It's
It
Skynet.
is. The scary thing is it is. That the whole thing with the what happened a couple of years ago. With a certain thing there.
Yeah,
That was scary stuff.
yeah,
People come knocking on your door saying, "Hey, are you against this?" Because I'm like, what? You know?
yeah. I don't know. You really got to watch yourself these days. And then now we're at the point where you can't even trust your own eyes and ears, because that
Yes.
could be a deep fake or something along those lines.
Yeah, and as it gets better too, like
Hmm.
yikes, how much better can it get? I hope it's like this is it. It's just as good as it gets, huh?
It's like video games. I remember when I was younger, I used to play the original NES system. Very briefly played the Atari, but mostly played the original NES, and then the subsequent systems. And I used to think, oh man, I can't wait for the new system. So the graphics get better, and every system over the last few years, it's been like, how can it get any better than this? And now I think we're to the point where that it's getting really close to almost photorealistic, but but then I don't really like that. I almost like the kind of um
Graphic, yeah.
yeah, it just has a certain aesthetic to it. I don't want it to look like real life. I want it to look close to it. I like the
Yeah.
shadows and the geometry and everything that's involved with it, but and the physics. But yeah, I
I
don't
can still
want.
remember I can still remember walking through a department store and seeing on a TV Pong, you know?
Oh yeah, and how it was the most amazing thing ever.
I thought that's kind of boring, but I guess it's interesting. And then I
I
saw
remember
these
bringing home Pac-Man on
yeah.
it wasn't the officially licensed Nintendo cartridge. It was Tengen Company or Tengen. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. And they got into a whole lawsuit with Nintendo over that. And afterwards you had to have the official Nintendo seal, on the cartridges. But yeah, just playing that at home, it was like, this is amazing. I have the
Yeah.
arcade in the
Yeah.
home.
Well, I
So
got it when my kids were younger. I got into the GameCube and stuff like that,
yeah.
and that's the first time I really got played some games, and I realized, oh my gosh, these are time suckers. They just like
It's
they,
true.
they pull you in and like because I remember the one thing you don't say to your wife when you're like she came in the room one time on the crisis point. She goes, and I said, "What do you want?" That's
Uh-oh.
you don't say
The
that.
shoe comes at you or something.
She's like, "What do you want? What do you mean?" It's like, sorry, no.
Yeah, I'm the gamer. My
Don't say, "What do you
husband,
want?"
yeah,
Good
my
tip.
husband isn't, but I'm sitting there, playing it a couple times. He doesn't realize how intense some of these games can be. And I'm fighting a
Yeah,
boss and I'm all tensed, and he's like trying to have a conversation with me. And I'm just like, yeah,
yeah.
whatever.
I remember
Yeah.
playing Star Fox, and I had reached the end of it, and there was this thing you had to strike this. We know there was a part where you were going through this. There's two parts, but that were tough. But the one was these ships kept flying at you from behind this on this that like Red Planet kind of thing. And I'm just trying to hit it and trying to see it. Eventually, it's like I got out of my chair and I'm sitting on the coffee table close to the TV, and I'm trying to see it, and I'm just playing it, and going at it. All of a sudden, you got it. You did it. Like how did I hit? Like I was so.
You
like,
don't even know how you did it. Yeah,
I was just in the zone. I was just doing the best. I was going as fast as I can. And the weird thing is, you get this real sense of accomplishment. You really haven't done anything.
I know.
But I guess that's
so
what
true.
fantasy stories are. You know, they're kind of same thing when you create a story, a comic book. You feel like you went on the adventure if they did a good story. But you know, so I don't know if it's that much different, but it's so
A few
intense though.
times,
It's so
Paulus.
real. You descend into those games like they seem like you can walk into them. You know.
I don't even want to tell you how much time I spent on the Zelda Breath of the Wild and
Zelda's great.
yeah,
Oh man,
Tears
I
of the
love Zelda.
Kingdom. Oh my God,
I never finished it, but I feel like that's one of those things when I get in a retirement home, or I would just
that'll
like,
be perfect to catch
just
up on
let
all your
me.
gaming.
Can you imagine that's going to be the future? The retirement
Yeah.
home's going to have video games, and all the old people are crowding around and trying to get to the next level.
I hope it's like that. I'm hoping it's not like Soylent Green where they're like, okay, we don't want to waste precious resources on the old folks. So
no.
you pick your video and you're gonna go to the happy place. You know?
Maybe like Logan's Run, it'll be a video game like that where you just get sucked up into it and
Yeah, who
destroyed.
knows? I just worry about the world, you know.
Yeah. But I guess that's what everyone's always. That's they say it's nothing new under the sun. It's kind of there's every generation's has its challenges.
It's true.
And like we're just talking about, my dad and his challenge, World War II. Shit, that's a challenge,
I can't even
So
imagine.
yeah, so I can't either. Honestly, I can't either. But
Was your dad able to talk about it, or was it one of those
Not so much.
situations? Yeah.
not so much, but I don't think it was pleasant. I know he was in a Sherman tank, and he was on Guam, Saipan, and Okinawa. Three
Oh my
places
God.
you didn't want to be in World War II. And I know he's on all those islands. So the only story he ever told me was he said that like when he was talking about being in a tank, he's like, they came to his barracks and they said, anybody know how to drive a truck? And he's like, oh yeah, me supplies, like.
Oh
So
no.
they took him to this field and they had all these tanks lined up, and he's just like, oh shit, because the survival rate was not good in tanks. They'd leave
Yeah,
you
have you
behind-
seen that movie Fury with Brad Pitt and what's his name? The kid from Transformers. Shia LaBeouf.
I have not.
Oh
Sounds
God, you have
interesting.
to see that. It's based during World War II, and it follows this. I guess it's a company that operate a tank, and they call it Fury, and they just have this one final showdown and everything, and it's pretty epic.
Is it a period piece or is it now?
It is. It's during World War II, so you
Okay.
might appreciate it. Yeah, it's a little
Interesting.
intense with the gore, because it's
Yeah.
realistic. But
That's what sometimes that stuff is like you say, look at Saving Private Ryan, incredible
Yeah.
film, great film, but I can't watch it hardly. It's just
It's brutal.
it's so brutal, it's so tough. Generally speaking, I end up watching comedies with my wife.
Yeah.
we like lately we've been watching this Fallout.
Yeah, I
And-
just
and-
finished it. Yeah.
Okay, don't tell me because we're
I
about
won't.
halfway through it. But it's a bit much for her. It's almost a bit much for me too. I don't mind it, but it's just like some of that gore is pretty gory. So
I appreciated the aesthetic of it. I mean, they did a
Yes.
really good job of capturing the feel
the characters are great.
of that universe.
The
Yeah.
story's interesting. It's so I'm really drawn into it. I really want to find out. It's kind of like Lost or some of these other ones
Yeah.
that have a good, compelling story to them. So I will, I'll finish it. I hope she will. It's just the other day, she's like, oh, this is kind of tough.
It was kind of like that with my husband at first, but I think after a while, he I explained a few things to him, and he was like, "Oh, okay, I kind of get it," because he didn't understand. It's like, why is that girl just such a bad actress? And I'm like, you don't understand. She's naive. She's acting hokey because it's supposed to be kind of like that 1950s.
That's the way she was trained.
Yeah, naive attitude and everything. And then when he watched the next episode with that in mind, he's like, oh, okay, now I see it. Now it makes sense.
Right.
But he thought she was just a horrible actress. And I was like, no. She's supposed to be like that. Like, all righty, have a
Yeah,
great
yeah.
day.
Yeah, my wife and I watched the John Wick films,
Yeah.
and they're really good. But man, that's a lot of killing.
It is.
I think
is.
it's almost the only way I can kind of like it's not so bad as they're killing killers. You know, they're the people that are get killed who he's killing.
Right.
So
It was almost like
but
Dexter in a way. Like you were, I found myself rooting for a serial killer, but you didn't feel so bad because he was going after other, murderers and everything.
oh, okay.
But then it went off the deep end, like a lot of those series often do when they go on for too long. But it'll be interesting to see what they do with Fallout. I hope, I'm pretty sure there's another season, or there's going to be a season 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, the characters I think are really interesting.
Interesting characters, really. The cowboy guy and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Is fascinating and kind of wild. It's almost like a Judge Dredd. I know you probably didn't read Judge Dredd much, but
Didn't read the comics, saw
yeah.
the movies and everything.
Yeah, one of the the comics are really over the top, which is interesting because now it gets back to the gore and stuff. Like what you do in seeing someone get sort of hit with bloody or something in a comic drawing is different than a real like a real movie. It's not as doesn't hit you as much, so you can be more violent in a way without
have the heads flying, limbs flying.
It's not as real.
Yeah.
So it's you're sort of depending, especially upon the style. If it's more cartoony, you can actually get away with more gore, really, the weird way. So
I just yesterday went and they're doing a limited re-release of Alien in certain theaters. So I went to watch that because I've seen the movie a number of times, but never in a theater, the big screen. And it was great. I liked it. They had this interview with the director of the upcoming Alien Romulus. I don't know if you've seen a trailer for that. It looks like they're doing.
I don't know.
It's I think coming out this summer, but it apparently has Ridley Scott's blessing, and it looks kind of true to form, to the old original Alien movie. Obviously, they've incorporated the CG and everything, so it'll be interesting if they use any practical effects or use computers completely for the effects. But it was just the gore and that and everything. But what really made that movie special, I think, was not really showing the alien until it was a very slow process. You just kind of got a hint that it was there, and you heard it running around, and you saw what it was leaving behind, like its old skin as it was growing
that's a
larger.
real traditional horror kind of space.
I really liked it. It was a good film, and it was neat hearing Ridley Scott's perspective. He was talking about how he was able to achieve certain shots, the scale when they're going down on the alien planet and going into the ship and looking at everything. And he used his kids to make everything seem bigger. They were in the space suits, so they had the small kids, smaller bodies and everything, so they could go in and the ship looked huge. And he was just talking about all the little tricks of the trade and everything, and I really like that.
Paulus is saying Aliens is great. Aliens is even greater. Yeah, I think they're almost like two different movies.
They are very much so. You have the suspense.
Great.
Yeah, they really are.
They connect well, but they're both really good. You got a different kind of a military approach and that sort of thing. That's wild.
Two different experiences.
Yes. Yeah. So they're a lot of fun. And really, there's another thing too. Just we're talking about the strong women. The idea, there isn't strong women. Is there anyone stronger than
Ellen Ripley? Yeah.
I mean, she is total badass. Before it was, so they, or even in Terminator, there was, the heroine, and that was tough. Like, there's a lot of tough ladies throughout the movies. You don't have to, make sure they're in there. They'll go in there naturally. Just really, to me, it should be based on sales. Do you think that's going to sell? Then make it. Aliens sold. It was sold like crazy because it was a great movie, and so they didn't force anything. And if the market's there, they like that, make more of that. Simple as that.
But
you don't have to worry about diversity or anything or any inclusion. All you got to do is make what people want to make, and it'll work itself out.
The problem with that, though, is that most movies today are made by committee because
I know.
it's not about the art. It's about, we have to make this much in sales. And studies have shown, if we have this and this and
Well,
this
did you hear what
element.
Jerry Seinfeld just said? That his
I saw that he did an interview, but I didn't
yeah,
watch it. And I need to go back and watch
he
that.
said
But
exactly that about committee has ruined comedy.
hmm
So it's like the shows just aren't funny anymore because they can't, you can't push the envelope. So
yeah,
Kill
Kill
Bill
Bill
had some badass chicks.
that was a great movie.
That was
Uh,
good. It
and
was
it never,
again. That's
and
that to me. That's I get a little squeamish with all that stuff,
yeah,
but it's still I can look past it. Actually, the scary thing is I feel like become more immune to it as it goes along.
I have
I don't want to
definitely
be.
become.
I don't want to be
I don't
immune
either.
to it.
Yeah, it's
I want it to bother me.
desensitized. But you know what I think is really bad is the news and how they do the if it bleeds it leads kind of thing. So everyone always wants to hate on movie violence and video game violence, but really if you just watch the news, um they're glorifying violence left and right. They'll show, an actual dead body on the side of a road and everything. It's
Yeah.
the
Well, you kind of got to
hypocrisy.
get that news. You kind of got to know what's going on out there.
Yeah, but I mean,
What's not.
they could have like a black bar or something over
Oh,
there, and talk about it. They'll get in there. They want to see
yeah.
everyone bloody,
Well,
the
when
child
the
mangled,
gawkers on the highway, it's like it slows
yeah,
down.
the
'Cause
rubberneckers.
everyone,
Yeah,
I mean, don't you when you're going past? Whoa, look at that wreck!
yeah.
That's a mangled, bunch of metal. And
We're funny creatures. Oh my gosh, awesome one. Abra has been a strong woman putting up with 80s Made every stream. I hope 80s comes back soon. I don't know if you showed my post or saw my post there, but he should be coming back. 80s Made, I started out streaming with him, and he loves all the old classic, 70s, 80s, 90s films. Not too much the new stuff, but we'd get on there and talk about movies and comics and everything, but he mostly focuses on movies. Great guy. He's kind of been out of the social media scene for several months. I think he needed to decompress a little bit, but I'm looking forward to his return. He's a really, really cool guy, really stand-up guy. But yeah, kind of gone on a number of tangents and everything here. Do you feel
Yeah.
like there's anything else that you would like to share with the audience?
Not really. I think we covered a lot.
Yeah, just we've jumped around a little bit, but
It's what happens when
it's
you
fun.
get comic people together, or people love the fantasy, all the genre. Man, you just go. It's like I remember one time it was Clayton Barton. I was he asked me to come on for his show and do an interview and that sort of thing. Well, we turned on like I said before the show. We turned on, like, I don't know how long was it before, but we started talking right away. We're like, because we were going to pre-record it. It wasn't a live show. And we just we started chatting right off the bat. And then I was like, we should just start the
Yeah,
push record,
just talk
And
about
so he did
everything.
that, and we pushed record, and we were talking like crazy for a while. Then we stopped the show, and then we kept talking for another half an hour or something. Because it's just like
that and break it up into like
Yeah.
little shorts or little
Yeah.
segments and everything. But yeah,
You
I
find
love,
people that have your interest, and you say, okay,
Yeah.
that's and it's fun to talk about all this stuff. And you don't usually get a chance to do that much sometimes,
Mhm.
So I really enjoy it actually quite a bit.
I do too. Yeah, because most of my family and when I'm out in the normie world, I
Yeah.
don't get a chance to talk about this stuff. So
Yeah.
it is definitely fun. We do have a question here from some person. He wanted to know, or he or she, because you're some person, Dan, if you were to pick a book to translate into a comic, which one would you pick?
Lord of the Rings.
Really?
Oh, Absolutely. I love Lord of the Rings. I loved it from actually the first one we read was The Hobbit
Yeah.
when I was pretty young. And that sort of similar to the Conan thing. And it was kind of like, oh, we got to pick a book out. You got to pick a classic. And my mom had a bunch of books on the shelf and I'm looking through them. I said, well, what's this one? It didn't have an exciting cover or anything. It was Tolkien's art on it.
Mhm.
And then, that didn't look that interesting. And so I read it and I ate it up, and I was just
Yeah.
like, this was so great. I just loved it. And
That
then,
man was a world builder. Like, I mean, he wrote
yeah, frick,
languages for his
I know,
character, for
it's
freak's sakes.
crazy.
Like, who does that?
He's a genius. I mean,
A
I think
whole
that
different
yeah.
level.
And
I
imagine
can't
then him and C.S. Lewis hanging out, like
yeah.
another genius in his right. Like, just imagine just people of that talent of hanging out and just at a bar or something. It's so cool. Again, now it gets
I'm
back to comic
so
scale, all this, connecting and talking with other
yeah.
artists, how stimulating that is. Because, Tolkien probably wanted to impress Lewis, and Lewis probably wanted to impress Tolkien. And so they're inspiring, they're talking comic, talking, storytelling.
Mhm.
That gets your blood flowing. You really want to, do this stuff. So it's
I like the
cool.
whole idea of very creative people getting almost into like a think tank and just bouncing ideas
Yeah,
off of each
yeah. I
other.
almost
So
wish it would do that. I've suggested that a few times with
mhm.
the Comicsgate Kings guys, saying, "Hey, do you want to do a sort of behind the scenes workshops and
Yeah,
stuff like that, just to kind of talk about things?" No one's really kind of taken me up on that, but hey, let's because there's things I need to know from them, and I, and they can learn from me, perhaps, hopefully, something.
yeah.
And like, just that sort of I wish they would send me their stories. I would take their stories, and I would give them my best take on it, and act as kind of an editor of sorts.
Yeah.
um and just say, this is great, or this is what I would change, because that's even happened a little bit with, I mentioned working on Silence Do Good with Sean Salter, and I read the book, and I made a suggestion on something here and there, just a couple words and stuff, the things that I know about storytelling. It's like, oh yeah, great, thanks for that info. And so it's a great camaraderie. And I actually encourage when I do that, when I work for them, send me your books. Like, the one person that did that was Rini. Rini
Yeah.
sent me her whole book, and I read it. So I was immersed in the story, and also when I'm promoting it, I can promote it intelligently. I can really say, okay, this is what's going to, I can have a good take, because I can take a story and summarize it without giving away the details and the
Right.
spoilers, because I can use the right words to tell people what this is, what you're getting. And I could do that. So it was easy for me to promote it. So I recommend people in the Comicsgate community to send each other your stories, and
Yeah.
bounce it off people. Even people, it's useful to people who don't like comics or don't read comics. Give it to them. Give it to people who aren't particularly interested, and see
Yeah, because I
how
think
they
anyone
react.
could appreciate a good story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a test. I mean, even my wife's not an artist, but a while back I was working on a Death Dealer cover, and I knew there's something kind of funny with his knee, and I did, but I think it's all right. And she kind of came in and that knee looks weird. She doesn't know anything about art, but she said that, and like, that's all I needed to know was confirmation that, yeah, that was weird, and I went back and fixed it.
Yeah.
So it was it's you people that aren't in the business are actually valuable to you. They can really help you judge your story, whether it's good or not. I
Yeah,
recommend.
isn't that's kind of strange too? Like the average person off the street, they can watch something or read something, and if there's an issue with it, they might not know how to put into words exactly what's wrong with it. But they're like, I don't know, this didn't work for me. There's something about this feels
Yeah.
off.
They may not
Uh,
know how to fix it, but they can
right.
tell you that they were confused, or
Yeah.
they couldn't follow that part. That's really important information. That's why they do those focus groups and things like that,
Yeah.
for
The importance of
advertisers.
criticism, right? And being able to
Yeah.
handle it. That's
Holy
another
shit.
another can of worms.
There's another half hour. Shouldn't even
Yeah.
have said that.
Sorry. Disregard, disavow. Yeah. But yeah, thank you so much, Dan. I really enjoyed our conversation again. We kind of gone on tangents all over the place, but you've had such an interesting career, and I love your art. Your enthusiasm for the art too is just really infectious.
Yeah, thank you.
And
Yeah. Well,
uh,
this stuff is exciting. Like, just like the Cyberfrog race car suddenly, like
oh
that. I
gosh,
was like geeking out about
yeah,
that. And
I
that's neat too. Like, my $25 whatever help put that car on
helped.
this. Isn't that fun?
Yeah,
Like it's so much fun to get to this interaction with people, and to be able to back projects, push projects, talk
right.
about projects. It's cool.
There's so many different things that if it wasn't for Comicsgate, I wouldn't have been aware of. And I'm so grateful for the community and all the great creators and artists out there for just introducing me to, all these different worlds. It's been a lot of fun. Vroom, vroom.
Vroom, vroom.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
By the way, speaking of, this is long enough past time, but I worked on a commercial for Vroom Vroom. I think it's was it Mazda? Who did the Vroom?
Oh
Vroom?
yeah. Vroom
Yeah.
vroom. Yes, that's right.
So-
Because we used to have a Mazda, and you turn it
Yeah.
on, and it in the dash it would say vroom vroom.
So I can tell you this commercial because it never got made, and it's kind of funny. So this lady walks into the laundromat, and she is ready to put her clothes in the thing, and she opens up the door, and she gets like this reaction, oh my gosh, and she runs out of the laundromat, and then all of a sudden you see that kid, he's sitting in the laundry thing, he goes vroom vroom. So he was there to, it was just a dumb idea, but it was really funny. It almost got sold, but
Yeah, all these commercials. I remember one where, gosh, I can't remember the car company, but it was wider is better. And because they were making, I guess, the body, the chassis of the car wider to help it, with going through turns and all this kind of stuff. But just like I said, all these little things like the slogans or the jingles, they just
Yeah.
stick with you.
Mhm.
Remember a toilet duck commercial where the thing comes rolling out and it's a duck and he's like, quack, quack, and it's just dun, 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 dun. I'm like, why does that stick with me?
The scrubbing bubbles or all that stuff.
Yeah, the scrubbing bubbles. It's weird. Where's the beef kind of thing?
Exactly.
Again, just all these creative people
Power
with
of
these great
advertising.
ideas. Yes, very much so. It's definitely a lot of psychology goes into it. And it's kind of interesting to see how we can be programmed. But yeah, thank you so much, Dan.
That's why they spend millions of dollars on this stuff. It's because it works. Advertising works.
Yeah.
And so
Just thinking about the enjoy the go, the Charmin, the new slogan. I'm like, how is that? Enjoy the go? I don't know. But on that note, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you, everyone in the chat, for joining me. It's been a pleasure and an honor to chat with you, Dan. And I really hope that you will come on the show again sometime, especially, once you do decide to get on board and release your
Oh my gosh,
project to
I
the
appreciate
masses.
it so much. I appreciate
Yeah.
these shows. I appreciate your interest and your interest in Comicsgate. I mean, I can't thank you guys, enough, because it's just like, it's so, without you guys, we can't do it. So we're just really grateful.
Well, it's a pleasure, and it's been so nice to meet everybody and all the great people in the chat. So with that, without any further ado, I think I will go ahead and call it an evening. Let's see. I am going to have a stream with hockey on Thursday at, I think it was 7 Eastern. And we'll be talking about his new book. I'll be putting the ad up for that. So everyone, please keep an eye out on X, Twitter, for
What's
my
the
posts
book?
for that. It is, let me bring that up here. It's Curiosities and Oddities, I think it was called.
It sounds
see here.
interesting.
It's kind of like about a girl in a dress shop, and I'm going to have to read up on it and everything. But just the premise seemed really unique, and that was another thing that I like, is when people come up with these very unique stories and creative ideas.
Yeah, because
So,
when you think about it, when you think about Marvel or DC, that's a small group of people making the decision of who's going to buy it, what they're going to publish, what you're going to read, and that kind of thing. Now,
yeah,
it's opened up. It's completely open. Anybody can do a comic book.
exactly.
if you're
Again, the
good-
importance of crowdfunding. So,
Exactly. So that's
right.
why I love it so much. So.
okay. So let me go ahead and we will sign off here. Thank you, everybody. See you on Thursday, I hope. Dan, I will see you next time. Thanks again.
Thanks a lot.
And
Appreciate the chat and everybody. Yes.
yeah,
Thank you.
it's a lot of fun here.
Get these ear sets off of me. I've had enough. Get the hell out of my house. In Jesus' name, I pray.